Okay. Erev Tov, everyone. Just a few words about today. Today was Ayin Adar. 7 days in Adar, according to Jewish tradition, is the day that Moshe Rabbeinu was born and the day that he passed away. And the Pasuk says, "As Mispar Yomecha Amalei," that certain righteous people live full lives, so to speak. The year is complete. And therefore, it was the day that he was born, was the day that he passed away. In the Talmud, we find that the day that a parent passes away, or a close relative, is a day of fasting. The Gemara listed as one of the Kanesim, one of the fast days that individuals can take upon themselves. In other words, there's a tiny tzibur, there's a fast day that's for the entire community. So we have the 4 biblical fast days, and then we have Yom Kippur, and then we have individual fast days. Sometimes a tiny chalom, person has a dream that disturbs him or her. So the Gemara says that a soothing effect can be obtained by fasting. So a person fasts on the day that this close relative, that the parent passes away. Over the centuries, especially over the last 3-4 centuries, a custom arose amongst the Jewish people that the day when a righteous person passes away, or a leader of the people, or someone of note passes away, it is not a fast day, it becomes a feast day. It's a day that's marked by, we don't say tachnun, we don't say sad prayers. We mark it by having refreshments given to the tzibur that comes to participate in the prayer service. Where did that custom arise? Because on the surface, that custom is exactly the opposite of what the Talmud says. The Talmud says it's a fast day. It's a day that we mark with sober ideas. And here we are marking it as though it were a holiday. So the origin of the custom is obscure, but we can well imagine people would rather observe it as a feast day than a fast day. And therefore it became justified in Kabbalistic terms, in terms of the fact that the soul of this righteous person enters into the heavenly realm, returns to its creator, and that there is a great joy, there's a welcoming committee, so to speak, that is present to escort the soul to its eternal rest. And therefore, here on earth, we should also mark it as a day of gratitude, a day of happiness, so to speak, and not as a day of sadness. And this became quite popular amongst Jews. And when the Hasidic movement arose in the 18th century, so then the day of the passing of any noted Hasidic Rebbe became not a day of mourning, but it became a day of this recognition that the soul was entering into paradise, and that every year it, so to speak, it elevated a level, went to a higher degree, and therefore it was a day to commemorate positively and not through sadness. And because of that, the custom arose not to say Tachnun. If you mark all of the days of passing of all of the Hasidic Rebbes of the last 300 years, you'll never say Tachnun. So usually it's restricted to that particular group, to those, to the Chassidim of that particular Rebbe. But there are overarching figures that cross lines, and therefore that became quite accepted, that there are many, many days that people don't say Tachnun because it is the day of the passing of a great person. So now we come to Moshe Rabbeinu, who's the greatest of all the Rebbes. So what do we do on that date? So again, because of this idea, it became customary amongst many groups of Jews not to say Tachnun. And then it became customary that on the day of the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, a community feast was held in honor of the Chevra Kadisha, the local Chevra Kadisha that was in charge of the cemetery and of burial. So they took that day of the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, and usually a siyum was made on that day. Divrei Torah were recited. So because of that, therefore, the feast was justified. And because of that, therefore, they didn't say Tachnun, and not only that, they had a community feast, a community banquet that was attended by everyone and had the status of being like a minor holiday. That custom has remained pretty much. Now, this year we have a leap year. We have 2 Adars. There's a Shaila and Halacha, which Adar should we observe? If someone passed away in Adar, and now we have in a regular year, and now we have 2 Adars. So if he passed away in a leap year, and he passed away in the first Adar, so certainly it's the first Adar. And if he passed away in the second Adar, it's certainly the second Adar. But if he passed away in a regular year, where there's only 1 Adar, and now in the leap year we want to come and commemorate it, that we commemorate it as far as the first Adar is concerned, or the second Adar. We have the same shaila regarding the young man Bar Mitzvah. He's born in a regular year of Adar, his bar mitzvah year is a leap year. When is he considered a gadol? When is his bar mitzvah? Is it in the first Adar or is it in the second Adar? And there's a wide difference of opinion amongst the poskim on these questions. And there's even opinion that one should observe both Adars. But the majority opinion is that we observe the second Adar. Because Adar Hakrova L'Nisan, that's when we observe Purim. We're going to observe Purim Cotton next week. But it's Purim Cotton, it's not the real Purim. The real Purim will be in the second Adar. So that would apply here as well. However, when it came to what we call yortzites, or the commemoration of the day of the passing of someone, so then there were all shilas that existed: who had the right to daven for the Yomid, who had the right for the Aliyah, who had the right for Maftir. Could a person assert that his custom is, as many people did, that they observe both Adars, and therefore they have two yortzites? And we all know that, unfortunately, many times it is these issues which are not necessarily the pillars upon which Judaism rests that create the greatest friction within a community, within even a family or a society. It's my yortzeit, so it's my yortzeit, so everybody has to give in. But you had yortzeit the first, no, and that's the second yortzeit. I'm entitled to the second one too. And this is mentioned especially because the custom originally in Germany, but in Lithuania also, the custom was that only one person in the synagogue recited Kaddish. Not our custom that everybody recites Kaddish. And everybody reciting Kaddish, they're supposed to recite it in unison. But the custom was that only one person recites Kaddish. That was the custom in the Lithuanian yeshivas. It was the custom throughout the German communities. So then the question is, who does the Kaddish belong to? I remember from my youth yet, the shamus and the shul used to give a clap and say the Kaddish belongs to the yortzeit, meaning nobody else could say Kaddish. And because of that, therefore, all of these questions took on a reality and an importance that perhaps otherwise they would not have been entitled to and would have not have forced the issue. When it came to the yortzeit to Moshe Rabbeinu, so then apparently most of the poskim held that the yortzeit is both Adars. And Moshe Rabbeinu, who is singular in every respect, Lo kom b'Yisrael kamo she'od. So therefore, both Adars became his yortzeit. And also because Lo Yoda Ishas Makom Kuroso Harayom Hazeh, we don't have a gravestone to mark where Moshe's remains are. So then the only memory that we have of Moshe, so to speak, is the memory of Moshe teaching us Torah. And in order to emphasize that, in order to give it greater weight, so they said we'll have the yortzeit on both Adars. So in many communities, they had a big yortzeit candle on Zion Adar. They also had a big yortzeit candle on the seventh day of Sivan which is the yard site of David HaMelech. I remember it from my youth in Chicago. My father's shul had this enormous candle that burned for 24 hours, but it was a taper. It wasn't like a yard site glass. It was an enormous candle. So that everybody was aware that this was the yard site. This was the day of the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu departed from the world. So today was Zayin Adar in Adar Aleph. And in a month we'll have, what? Oh yeah, by us. See, by the Litvakas, saying Tachanun is a joy. So the month will be Zayin Adar Bet, and that will be the other commemoration. But the real commemoration of Moshe Rabbeinu is Zos HaTorah Asher Son Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael. The Torah is his commemoration, and therefore he lives within us. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer, what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Es Yisrael, L'fichach Yibol HaHen Torah Mitzvot Shene'emar